Hey guys, JJ here with Well-Rounded Living, and today I'd like to go over with you what well-rounded living actually is. Now, I'm not talking about the channel we have here, but more the concept. What is it like to be a well-rounded individual and to live a well-rounded lifestyle? Now, I saw an article not too long ago about someone saying that well-rounded living is kind of an old concept that no longer applies. And they interpreted well-rounded living to mean you can do everything. You're an expert at everything. Kind of the old concept of multitasking is great until everyone realized, well, it's not so great. You can't really do everything. But I don't view well-rounded living as being that way. I look at it as being able to experience everything life has to offer, pull from those experiences, determine what works best for you, and become an individual that is fully developed. Not overly developed in one particular area and underdeveloped in others, but developed in a well-rounded way. Now, I'm sure you've seen my video about my definition of what moderation is, and that goes hand in hand with this. If you do anything too much, it can have negative consequences, but doing everything just a little bit and trying everything out and taking everything in moderation is a great way to live. Now, does well-rounded living mean you need to be good at everything? No. You could actually be really bad at several things, but if you try them, you'll know. And if you never tried, would you have even known whether or not you would be good or bad at it? Would you have the experience? Would that experience be a positive or possibly negative memory that you now have? No. But by trying out lots of different things, you can effectively become a jack of all trades. Now, that is to say that some of the experiences you try, some of the skills you acquire will make you a jack of all trades. And that's a much more fun way to live, in my opinion. But in addition to that, you will be gaining experiences. And those experiences are good for lots of different reasons. One, you're getting an experience, a memory. And that memory could be something that either brings a smile to your face in the future or is a conversation piece at a party at some point when you're meeting someone new. There's a lot of different ways that trying out something new can be a positive. Now, each new experience that you try is going to develop who you are. Think back to when you were just a child. You had a very narrow-minded view of the world. And with everything you tried, everything you learned, your view of the world opened up just a little bit. And the more you know, the more your view of the world opens. So this can have a wide variety of positive effects. It could reduce things like discrimination or bias. If you have experienced someone hanging out with someone that is of a different background than yourself, and that could be ethnic background, political background, sexual orientation background, or even just area of living. So for example, I live in the South. Well, the lifestyle we live down here in the South is very different from the way people live up north. And if you didn't know better, you may meet someone that's from, let's say, Chicago or New York, something like that. And being from the South, they would seem very aggressive and negative. But by having experiences with people from a different location, you would realize, no, they're not really. That's just the lifestyle there. And that's going to change your outlook next time you see someone else. So as I said, it can reduce prejudice, reduce bias, and help you to get along with people much better. Now, another thing that I have found to be an unexpected side effect of trying a lot of experiences and attempting to be well-rounded is that while each individual experience is going to teach me something, I will be able to take it on and use it later on in life. I found that sometimes a completely unrelated experience that you have can be useful in a new, let's say, hurdle that you come across that you would otherwise not have known how to approach. So a funny example that I came across just the other day was I was watching a TV show called Going Deep with David Rees. And this is an interesting show. He's a bit of a character where he asks the most simple questions, things like how to dig a hole, how to tie your shoes, and he gets into the science of it. And one thing he was doing was talking to a survivalist about what he used as his shoelaces, because he was looking for the best, sturdiest shoelaces to use in his shoes. And the answer was paracord. Well, obviously, if you've seen my video on making paracord bracelets, you know that I do a lot of little crafts with paracord. I have made dozens and dozens of different styles of bracelets, as well as a couple of belts. And I wear a paracord belt every day now, which has about 100 feet of paracord in it, for those of you interested in making something like that. Now, in hearing that David Rees was saying, hey, paracord might be the best material, the first thought that popped into my head is probably not what would pop into your head. And this came from another TV show I had watched probably a year ago. It's a cartoon called Phineas and Ferb. And in one of their episodes, they did a whole episode on this little item called an aglet. They were creating publicity for this unknown item. And what an aglet is the little plastic tip at the end of your shoelace. And that's what keeps it from fraying, allows you to weave it in and out of the holes in your shoes. So the first thing that popped into my head was, how do you get an aglet on a piece of paracord? And just that moment right there was a big realization. I took something I learned from a cartoon for kids while watching it with my children, and something from more or less a scientific documentary type show, and instantly put the two together in my head before they even started talking about that. Now, David Rees actually ended up going on later and vaguely mentioning that the survivalist knew how to take some industrial strength plastic and put it on the end in order to create that. But the fact that I even knew what that was, that it existed, and that I was thinking paracord would make a great shoelace before they even mentioned it, is a testament to taking information you learn in one area from one experience and applying it somewhere else completely unrelated. This can happen in lots of different ways in your life. Now, one that you may be able to relate to a little bit better would be cooking with spices. If any of you out there do much cooking and you have tried spices over the years, you'll find that in time you find out that spice A, let's say garlic, oregano, basil, you find out what those spices do when added to a recipe. And then when you're creating some new recipe, you could say, that's missing something. Hey, I bet garlic would make this so much better. Add that to the recipe and then end up with something much more tasty. So it's just your experiences develop who you are, what you know, and what you're capable of doing in the future. Another interesting side effect of becoming a well-rounded individual is your ability to relate to other people. Now, I mentioned before helping to eliminate bias and discrimination and things like that, but there are lots of different cliques of people out there, lots of different subcultures. So there may be people who are into skateboarding, people who are into motorcycles, people who are into cooking, people who are into making YouTube videos or prepping. They could be into financial aspects of life. They could be in a financial field at work. They could be into psychology, or at least trying to figure out how to relate to others. Regardless of what someone else's passion is, the more experiences you have had in life, the more you will have the ability and you will be equipped to relate to those people and therefore have something to talk about. So let's say you are a well-rounded individual and you come across somebody whose passion is something that you have tried once or twice, but you've also tried one or two other things that allow you to be able to relate to what they're saying a little bit more. You will then be able to have a full-blown conversation with that person. You'll be able to relate to them and be able to fit into that group of people with very little effort. And not only that, you can then start pulling in friends from all these different subcultures. So you may have a group of friends who is into camping, and you may go camping with them and have a lot of fun. Then you may have another group of friends that absolutely hates camping, but they love to have cooking parties or grilling parties. They love to have everyone come over and share recipes. Or maybe it's something like a book club where you share book ideas of your favorite recent authors, something like that. Regardless, The more well-rounded you are, the more of these groups you will be able to fit into, and the more friends you will have. I mentioned earlier thinking back to when you were a child and how you didn't know that much and your view of the world was very narrow and how it's grown since then. Well, one of the things that parents and teachers always tell children as they're growing up is you can do anything when you grow up. You can do anything in your life. All doors are open, whatever it is you want to do. Well, think about how you are right now. You may or may not have expected to be the way you are now when you were a child, but if you have kids, think about how they view you and what you do. Whether you want it to happen or not, your kids are going to learn a lot from what you do, not necessarily what you say. They are going to be paying close attention to your actions. And not just actions, but also your accomplishments, the style of things you do, your mannerisms. They will pay attention to everything. So if you really want to teach your kids that anything is possible, show them. Try lots of different things, lots of different experiences. Take them with you. They will truly believe that anything is possible when they see you doing anything and everything. Along with that is the ability to teach your kids. The more you know and the more you've experienced in life, the more information you will have to pass on to the next generation. And for any parent, that's a wonderful thing, to be able to teach your kids something that you have learned that they can then have a takeaway and be better because of it. Learning from your experiences is great, and while they might not always listen, they will pay attention. So if you practice what you preach, basically, they will begin to learn. Over time, if you continue living a well-rounded lifestyle, you'll notice one other thing change. Your entire mindset on life. So let's say right now, you typically think, oh, I can't do that, it's too hard, or oh, I can't lose weight, it's too difficult, I have the fat gene, and therefore there's just absolutely no way I can lose weight. Or I've never been able to cook, or I don't have a green thumb. I've heard that one quite a few times in my life. The reality is you just don't have the knowledge that's necessary to be able to do whatever it is you're thinking about doing. Well, the more you try, the more your mindset is going to change, and the more you will attack or be willing to attack new experiences and new challenges. And you'll get a thrill out of it. Completing a new task will be an exciting thing. You'll have so much more to pull from, and you'll have so many more accomplishments giving you self-confidence that when the next hurdle arises, you'll tackle it willingly. You'll be excited about it, and it will be yet another notch in your belt, another thing you can brag about to your friends if you decide to. But most importantly, it will be something that improves your own self-confidence, which allows you to live an even more well-rounded lifestyle. So it's a very positive cycle that once started, it does keep going, and it only improves as time goes on. Well, that's all I have today, guys. Hopefully you found this interesting, and hopefully you now have a better understanding of what well-rounded living is and how it might benefit you in your own life. Check us out at wellroundedliving.com, follow us over at Facebook, or subscribe right here on YouTube, and I will see you again soon.